Stop whatever you are doing right now. I need you to stop, and I need you to find something to sit on, because this is not the kind of message you take standing up. In the past few weeks, you may have sat still in your car on the edge of your bed, staring at nothing. You felt like a huge force was moving toward your life, but you couldn't put your finger on it. If you were chosen, you know exactly what I mean. Because how do you explain a weight that hasn't arrived yet? You didn't tell anyone. What words can you use to describe a storm's air pressure that no one else can see on radar? You weren't able to explain it, but your spirit knew about it, and it hasn't let you rest since. Let me make it clear what this message means. This time of year, God is not whispering. He is giving an order. And the order is both strange and easy. And He is not negotiating it. Now sit down, not because you are in trouble or because you failed, but because something big is about to happen in your life. And people who are still running never get big things. That's the whole point of this message, and I need you to read it while sitting down. There are 3 promises I want to make to you before we move on. I will keep all 3 before this message ends. You are going to understand why God makes His chosen ones stop moving right before the most important people in their lives show up. You'll never read your stuck seasons the same way again after seeing it. It will feel like years of waiting for answers are erased right in front of your eyes. Not erased, but written over. You will know exactly what to do during this sitting season. When you leave, because it is decided before it even lands whether you will be crushed by a huge arrival or set up by one. But first, a little something, because people have told you things before and you're sick of them. I'll give you one piece right now. You know how it feels when the phone rings. For a split second, your whole body gets ready for bad news before you even look at the screen. That's what you've been calling anxiety. You've been referring to it as pessimism or even a lack of faith. Also, you've been harsh on yourself for it. It's also not a season of long delays that teach the body to see everything as a threat. Like how people in a town that has only ever seen flubs grab sandbags when they hear rain. That answer is not brokenness. The length of time you have been in a position is shown by this. What took place inside you has a fuller name. And there is a way to turn it around. Both will be added later in this message. Just know this for now. You are not the flinch. It was caused by waiting, but it can be fixed. If that made your chest feel good, I want you to do something more important than how it looks. Agreeing to receive something is the first step, and it has to be said somewhere. Right now, type "I am seated" in the comments as a position, not as a phrase. When you ask for something, heaven reads your posture first. And that comment is how you stand tonight. I'm now going to show you what this season has been like on the inside. I think you were both living signs, but you never got in touch with each other. Think about a night from the last few months. It's quiet in the house now. Behind you, the fridge is making noise. You're still at the kitchen table after everyone else has gone to sleep. You feel it again when you put one lamp on your hands around a cup that got cold an hour ago. It's like being stuck in a doorway you can't see, of standing on the edge of something important. Your body is tired but alert in a strange way. How animals get ready for changes in the weather. That scene doesn't just happen. The first sign is that scene. This is the second. It doesn't make any sense why your plans keep falling apart. The project gets stuck a week before it's due to end. The person stops talking just as things were picking up speed. You can't just close the door. There is a pause in the board that makes them look like they can't move. That's what you took it to mean. No, hold on to that thought because we're about to test it. Third, you wake up very late at night around 3 a.m. for no reason at all with no noise. You are fully awake right away. Fourth, you don't feel the same urges that used to drive you. You're not as excited about your goals as you used to be. And it makes you wonder if you are losing who you are. You're not. Before putting something heavier on the table, something is being taken off of it. Fifth, there is a lot of interference on all fronts at the same time. Stress in the family, lack of sleep, and calls from old temptations on numbers you deleted. It's all happening at once right now. Remember that later it will matter. Do not listen in on a message meant for someone else if you saw 3 or more of those in your own life. Most people scrolled away in the first 30 seconds, but you're still here, which tells me the same thing your restless nights have been telling you. You already knew something. Let's go ahead and open the first door since I said I would give you a mechanism and not a mood. Let me be clear about what the symptom is. You get benched every time your life is about to change for the better. Not slowly slowed down, but benched. The chances get fewer and fewer in the places where you used to be strongest. Your energy drains. You don't have to work hard to scroll a screen for 3 hours. When you sit down to work on the thing you think you were meant to do, though a fog comes over and your focus wanes like sugar in water, the weight of the bench gets heavier as you push against it. To explain this you tell yourself you're not busy, that you are not disciplined, that you are hurting yourself, that you may be cursed, or that you have been forgotten. A small part of you has always thought that God forgot about you years ago and never told you. You need to really hear what I'm saying. Everything they said isn't true. And they lose their lease today. This is what's really going on. And it's the first part of this message. There is a pattern that runs through all of the stories of massive arrivals in the Bible and in real life, but it's not taught before the event. The instructions are always about how to stand all the time. Before it is filled, the vessel is made to stay still. And there's a reason why that's not strange decoration. It is built up. Each body in striving mode and receiving mode has its own set of rules for how it works. They can't run at the same time either. Your whole body is set up for output, defense, and survival. When you are grinding, bracing, or forcing. When the system is set up that way, nothing deep can be poured into it. It gets splashed off. The weight is not the stillness. The stillness is how the container is set up. This is what we call the seated position. Sitting is what it looks like when God forces a chosen vessel to switch from output mode to intake mode. Since the vessel would never have chosen to stop on its own, keep an eye on what this does to your past, because this is the part that changes years. Think about every season that stopped, every time you worked out, every time the doors froze, and how your strength mysteriously left the rooms where you needed it. You named those times abandonment. Take another look. All of them set you down right before they made something bigger inside you. You were not put on the bench. You took a seat. You were not left behind. You were chosen. You felt like the years you lost were wasted because the container was getting wider. The huge thing could only fit in a wider container. Take a deep breath. We will never forget you. You were being trained in the only way that training works. Standing up straight. Let me give you the key that goes with this before we go any further. A lock that doesn't have a key is just information. First thing tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to sit still for 5 minutes. Sit down with your back straight, your hands open on your knees and say slowly, I am not waiting. I am receiving 5 minutes. That small action starts to retrain the system that was off by a delay, and it tells heaven in the language heaven understands that the seed is taken. It doesn't sound important enough. A seed does the same thing. A package just arrived for some of you from here. I can feel it. You just got the idea that the bench was a seat and the delay was for getting ready. It's important to write that down. Type 1 will sit down below. This is because hearing the truth is not the same as taking a stand on it. And the people this message was aimed at are those who take stands. In the Bible, there is a man who shows this so clearly that you can't take your eyes off of him. David had just been given the most important promise of his whole life. Nathan the prophet stood in front of him and unfolded a huge future that went back many generations. A house, a throne, and a family tree that would never end. Now think about what a man does when he hears something that big. Run, build, party, and get an army together. This is what the record says he did. He went inside and sat down in front of the Lord. That's the whole answer. The most important promise he had ever made was to give her a chair. The first language also hides valuable things here. The Hebrew word for what David did is yasha. It means to sit down. Yes. But the same word can also mean to live, stay, and in some cases be crowned. Read it slowly again. When this was first written, the word for both sitting down before God and being enthroned meant the same thing. If God tells you to sit down, He's not taking you out of the deal. He is sitting you down the way kings are seated in the most basic grammar of the Bible. The pose that makes you feel bad about yourself is the pose of coronation. Let me paint the picture the way it should be because the Bible lets us. In Jerusalem, it is nighttime. The tent that the ark is in has a faint glow from the lamps. The city that will one day be named after him is sleeping outside. Pushes back the flap, walks in, and lowers himself to the ground. This is the king who had spent his whole life running from lions to sold to giants. He hits the ground with his knees. He lets his shoulders fall from behind his ears for the first time in years, and he starts to speak with wonder instead of strategy. Who am I that you've brought me this far? Look at how the seat changed his voice. Standing men talk things over. Seated men are amazed. The promise stopped being a project David had to oversee as soon as he sat down. It became a gift he could see. That's what the shift from sitting to standing does. And this is the exact change that the big thing that is coming your way is waiting for. Let me tell you the truth about something. This message won't act like it knows more than it does. I don't know what day on the calendar you'll be here. And I'm not going to insult you by making one up. No honest messenger can do it. I can tell you the pattern because it doesn't change. Stillness comes before sighs. The seat comes before the throne. And someone who is chosen and learns how to sit well is never left to sit for all time. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. Before we open the next door, one last thing. I don't want you to think that the seat means giving up your standards. You're not giving up when you sit down. When a man quits, he leaves the table. A man who is sitting at the table is there paying attention and holding his work with open hands instead of closed ones. When you quit, the account is closed. It's paid for by sitting. The enemy of your season will try to blur that line. So keep it close. And in a moment you'll understand why he works so hard to keep certain people standing, striving and worn out right before their biggest arrivals. Now that you have thought about that, let me open a door that we will talk about later, because what's on the other side of it, it is part of this message. If what you are receiving makes you feel something, type I receive seated below, because that is what you are receiving right now. Then pay close attention to this. A small group of scientists in New York have been doing research away from churches for the past few years and have found something about how the mind was first made. Something that describes a feeling that spiritually sensitive people have had for decades but have never been able to put a name on. No one was looking in that direction and seeing it. It's so basic that it comes from one of the most important discoveries of the last 100 years. And it's so easy to use that most people don't pay attention to it. The first time they hear it, what they found will be told to you right after this message ends. Hold on to one question until then. What if the space you felt between you and the huge thing wasn't about time at all? What if someone stole something from you in the receiver years before you were old enough to protect it? Keep that question right where it is. Do not put it down, because everything that happens now will make the answer hit you hard. I need to take you to the second part of this message right now. And I will let you know ahead of time. This one gets to the saddest part of your story. It gets on the list. You already know the list. Everyone who has been chosen has won. The prayers that didn't come back. The door that shut in the last hour. The business that almost did well, the relationship that broke up just as things were getting real. That promotion went to someone who wasn't as honest as you and didn't work as hard as you did. It seems like you were careless as you watched other people receive quickly and easily while your own harvest stayed frozen upstream and late at night. The list whispers to you the end of it. Turned down, skipped over, or too late. Please let me name the symptom exactly, because being exact is the first step toward freedom. Things have been slow, but that's not all. Your life has felt like it was doomed. You can feel the flow of water. Sometimes you can even hear it, but nothing gets through to you. Work doesn't go back down. It goes upstream. And you told yourself this in a way that only a mind that is hurt can. You said the flow was turned down. Some of you thought you were the reason it was turned down. Look at how this has actually played out in your time. Before I hand you the mechanism, the dam doesn't make a noise. It hides its true self. It looks like applications are being sent out into the ether. If you pray with faith on Monday, you might not hear anything by Friday. It's like seeing someone who doesn't have any responsibilities or calling walk into the exact chance you were waiting for. Every time the water level inside you rose a little and you thought the pressure was making you crazy. That stress was never crazy. Don't forget the stress. We're going to name it now. That's all there is to it for now. You've been reading delay as denial for years when they are actually two different rivers. This is how it works. A request goes away when it is turned down. But a request doesn't go away when it's put off. It builds up. Everything that is held back during a certain season is held back because of something else. What's behind a dam doesn't get smaller while it waits. It goes up. It's not dead seed that stays in the ground all winter. It's a planned seed. Your discipline comes from years of hard work that didn't pay off. The depth you gained in rooms where no one cheered. The strength that grew in you while the answer lingered. Everything has been adding up in a place you couldn't see. This is what we call the full reservoir. You didn't lose anything that you planted in faith. It was put away. Putting water under pressure and storing it is exactly how water turns into electricity. Now take the machine and run it through your own record backwards. Since this is where the years are changed, in the last hour, that closed door did not erase what you built as you walked toward it. You learned instincts from that business that almost worked that you couldn't have learned in a class. Even the love that ended taught your heart a level of loyalty that it is ready to show to someone else. It turns out that the list you've been reading as proof of rejection is actually the reservoir's inventory. When a full reservoir finally gets a gate, it looks like the same list with a different heading and a huge arrival. And figure out what the pressure you've been feeling was. This will change how you deal with it from now on. The last few months have been heavy, but it wasn't because of being away. It was the weight of being close. When a reservoir is empty, it is quiet. A full one moans against the gate. The intensity that made you think you were breaking is the best proof that something huge is stacked on the other side of a wall that is about to open. You never had nothing on you. You were carrying everything that wasn't delivered. Here is the key to this mechanism. Also, I want you to do it, not just nod your head. Get the list out of the dark this week. Write down on paper everything that is still waiting or is behind schedule. Then snorts out the old title that hurt and write the new one in the reservoir. Thinking that way is not positive. Putting what the mechanism actually says about the file under a new name is what that means. And the mind can't release something it has never given the right name to. A lot of you need to write this down because something you've been carrying for years just changed how heavy it is. Type 1 release the timeline in the comments if you are getting rid of the old heading tonight. Release is the time of day right now. You're not giving up the promise. You are letting go of the stopwatch that you were holding it down. I'd like to slow down a bit because we've talked a lot of important things and this message needs some space to breathe. Take a moment to feel your body. Pay attention to where you clenched your teeth while you listened. The teeth, the arms, and the hands. Allow them to go down. You are free to listen to the rest of this. The God who seats his chosen ones doesn't need them to move when he talks. Do this with me right now because your body has been waiting and it deserves to be receiving. Feel how the chair, seat, or floor is holding your weight without your help. Take note that you're not holding yourself up. It's being done by something below you. That should be a picture. Your body will remember this tonight. Being held is no longer a theory for you. In the real world, it is happening right now. It's also true in the world you can't see. While we breathe, I'll tell you a short, honest story. A long time ago, I saw a farmer wait out the wettest spring anyone could remember. Because his neighbors were scared. They planted early, but the frost killed almost everything they had planted. He checked his soil, made sure his tools were sharp, and then planted 3 weeks after everyone else. In that fall, his fields had the only full harvest in the valley. I asked him how he could stay calm while his neighbors planted seeds. I will never forget what he said. The land didn't tell me to hurry up. I had to be ready for it. Now, let's get back on the road because the next mechanism is one that almost no one is willing to preach. This is the sign. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. You pray for the breakthrough, but deep down you are afraid of it. You've thought about getting the big thing and then losing it. During the honest hours, you've thought about whether you could really handle the answer if it came, whether the money would expose you, whether the platform would swallow you, and whether love would find you not enough. You buried your fear and yelled even louder because it felt like you didn't believe. Don't call your fear a lack of faith. It's not. It's a good instinct that points to a real law. We're not going to shame it. Instead, we're going to read what it wished to say. Just think of all the stories you know that show this. People who went from being unknown to having a lot of money all of a sudden went bankrupt again within a few years. It was not because the money was cursed, but because it was bigger than the box it was in. People who spoke out overnight but were taken down by the next wave. Not because the platform was bad, but because the roots were younger than the branches. Now put those stories next to the quieter ones. Like the steward who faithfully ran a small business for 10 years and then moved up to a big job without losing his soul. The woman who healed in secret first could hold a public blessing without letting private wounds come back to the surface. This is the law. The same arrival that makes one person strong also breaks another. And getting there never makes a difference. It's in the way the person receiving it is built. You may have heard of people whose names have been buried because of sudden wealth, but you will never hear of those people again. People's voices have been drowned out by sudden platforms that have also amplified voices that were already there. The rain isn't bad or good. What was built before the rain determines what will happen. This puzzle is known as the impact paradox. No one is good or bad because of their size. It shows what kind of structure it hits. Your gut didn't tell you to doubt God. You should have fixed the structure before the weight came. That's not talking out of fear. That's what engineering is. Now read that paradox over and over again because this is the deepest rewrite of the night. God never hung the huge thing over you to hurt you. He wouldn't let it land on something that it would have destroyed. The not giving was not a punishment. It was load management by a dad who wants you to still be standing 10 years after you were born. Not just pretty on the day of the picture. Every month of delay was him putting your safety ahead of your praise. And pay close attention to something that should make you feel very good. All of those plans are ready for you right now in the middle of the delay you've been dreading. You don't need the arrival to start building the structure that the arrival needs. That means the time of year you call dead bedtime is actually the only time you will ever be able to build because once the huge thing lands there will be no more time to build under it. There is no waste in heaven of your years. Heaven is using the few years when the foundation could still be poured quietly before it was squished under heavy loads. That's right. The seeded season does have a job. It's written in 3 lines here. Order the inner rooms because being high up makes anything that isn't healed in you stronger. Strengthen your daily routine because a lot of weight rests on things like sleep, prayer, focus, money, keeping promises, and watching what you eat. The thing that's on your mind right now is training the structure that the arrival will land on. Big doors with small hinges. Finally, I want to add an honest line. You deserve honest words from any voice you let into your spirit. I don't know everything about your life, Snorts, and I'm not going to act like one message can explain everything. If something in this word doesn't fit your story, don't feel bad about leaving it out. But if it fits and it has for about an hour, don't think that's just a coincidence. You can be sure that these kinds of messages will reach the right people. You have been listening for a long time. And that's not just out of interest. People don't spend that much time in a message. Unless they are reading their mail. Let me read one more page. The whole life of a man in the Bible is the impact paradox played out to the letter. At age 17, Joseph was given a huge vision in which sheaves and stars bowed down. He then sees a pit instead of a throne, a palace instead of a slave posting, and a prison cell for a crime he refused to commit instead of being rewarded for it. Every morning they held a promise that seemed dead year after year in the dark. For a moment. Sit in that timeline with him. Summaries are easy, but his years were not. Feel the shock of brothers becoming strangers on the first morning in the pit. Feel the dust from the caravan, the auction block, and the new language. He had to learn to stay alive. Then there was the slow, silly loyalty in Potiphar's house where he did great work for the man who owned him. Then the charge that he didn't deserve. The sound of the cell door and one question that would not go to sleep inside it all. What about the dreams? He had seen wheat bow. He looked at a wall made of stone. If anyone in history could have said that his vision was a lie, it was that man in that room in the year 11. But pay close attention to what the record shows. He stayed true to himself in the pit. He kept getting better at things at home. While his own night went on, he served, translated for, and watched over other people in prison through theirs. It was filling up in the one place that no one would have ever thought to use as a filling station. Then one day, guards ran down the hallway with a razor and clean clothes because Pharaoh called his name. They didn't give him any warning. This story is in your message tonight because of what happened in the next few hours, but I need you to hear it through one more door. Because without that door, you'll only hear the miracle and not see how it works. First, join me at the halfway point of this message. You've earned a view from the top. So far, everything has given a reason why. Why is there a bench? Why the wait? What's the fear? But you may have noticed that I have been thinking about a question but haven't answered it yet. What is the huge thing exactly? You think it's the money, the person, the platform, or the chance to be right. What if I told you that the biggest thing that's going to happen in your life isn't on your list? When you see it, the things on your list will seem small. That's where we'll go next. You still have to read the most important part of this message. Do not move. What took place during those hours? A prisoner had a dream, figured out how it worked, and came up with a plan. And by the time it got dark, the man who woke up in jail had the reign of Egypt on. That day is known as the miracle by everyone. It wasn't. The 13 years before it were a miracle. That morning, Pharaoh didn't need someone to dream for him. People dreamed a lot in Egypt. There was only one man on the continent who was already built, and God knew his cell phone number. Pharaoh needed that man to lead his country through a famine. It took hours to climb because the planning took years. That's the impact paradox with a face. The huge thing didn't crush Joseph because he was already constructed in a way that let it land on him. Now I need to talk to you about what is going on around you right now in these exact weeks. We've reached the sign I told you to remember. There is an attack on everything at the same time. Your sleep isn't right. A lot of money is leaving places that have been stable for years. Out of the blue, old fights are starting up again. People you deleted are coming back with the same poison. At 2 a.m., your own thoughts have turned against you. You thought you did something wrong, that God is mad at you, or that your luck has always been bad and will always be bad because everything was happening at the same time. For a moment, put your attention on the pattern instead of the pain. Random bad luck spreads out over a lifetime. This isn't spread out. This is focused, timed, and aimed. It all came at once at the same time that a divine message was sent over your life. That's not what random does. The opposition does. This is the mechanism which works for both what can be seen and what can't be seen. There is always a lot of resistance at thresholds. Talk to anyone who has changed their life for the better. It was in the days before the new thing that the old thing pulled at me the most. If you ask someone who almost quit, they'll tell you that the fall was planned for the week before the breakthrough, almost to the day. Psychologists look for it in how people act. The inner sabotage gets louder as a person gets closer to real change. This is because the old identity fights hardest at the exit. The spiritual reading backs this up too. An arrival in motion is the only thing that gets people's attention. The person who is after your calling doesn't waste bullets on parked cars. This is what we call the pre-arrival storm. The fact that you are in a mess is not proof that the promise did not come true. That's proof of how close it is. Because of this, the command in your life right now is to sit down and not fight harder. It is easy to hit a target that is standing in the last stretch. A chosen one who is striving, scattered, and self-promoting is seen from all sides. But a chosen one who is seated is low, guarded, not in a hurry and impossible to bait. At this moment, protect your rest like a wall. Don't tell people who have never carried that much weight about your plans. Leave the storm to work on the shutters while you sit inside and read. Storms pass. Seats stay in place. Now we get to the last mechanism before everything comes together. I put it here on purpose because it is the most important and answers the question that every other question in this message is trying to answer. Get close because this is the one you'll take out of here. This is the sign, and hearing it out loud might hurt. Good things don't land deep. When they do reach you, you pray and your wish comes true. By dinner, you don't feel much. When you beg for a moment, you stand there and a glass wall keeps you from touching it. Comments of praise fall off. Rest doesn't make you better. When you read the holy page, the words don't move around. Besides the numbness, think about how much has been missed in the fog. How many open doors did you see? How many divine appointments were right there next to you while your mind was off worrying about things it had already thought about 1,000 times? You said that numbness was due to not being thankful and that blindness was due to fate. Neither is true. The real law here is that the depth of any arrival depends on the state of the person or thing that it lands on, not on the size of the gift itself. It depends on the state of the person or thing that is receiving it. If you play a masterpiece through a broken speaker, it will sound bad and the composer is not to blame. This rule is known as the receiver law. And the receiver in question is the same thing you've used for every prayer, hope, and plan you've ever had. Thoughts? Let's go all the way back. You had a small self. Maybe when you were 7 years old, who took in the whole world. The colors stood out. A normal creek was a kingdom. It took a long time to pass. And wonder was your normal setting, not your trip. The kid learned more quickly, had bigger dreams and effortlessly felt the presence of the holy. You didn't lose that receiver because you got older. Something about the way modern life is set up wore it down, slowly dimming it year by year until it stopped being a memory. You trusted at full depth. And here is the new version that this law lets you write. All the good things you thought were kept from you. Some of them showed up. They got to a receiver that was dimmed, registered at a fraction of their weight, and some went right by without being noticed at all. You were forgotten more than you thought. You didn't have the right tools to feel it. Hold on to that, child, one more time, because this is about you, not some idea. You or a family member have a picture of that 7-year-old somewhere in your house or in a box their house. This week, find it. Check out the eyes. That's not a stranger or a dead version of you. That is the first receiver. That is set up to catch what heaven sends at the weight that heaven sends it. There has been a lot of talk in this message about getting back together. It's also not between you and an event. You are the only one who can play that instrument. This brings us to the question I asked you to think about at the start of this message. I told you that something new had been found about how the mind was created in the beginning. And I asked, what if something in the receiver was taken from you before you were old enough to protect it? Now you know the whole shape of the problem that discovery solves. And a solution is only useful to someone who knows what kind of problem it solves. You now get the shape. It's now time. But first, let me ask you an honest question. You might already feel it. Why doesn't the change happen even though I know all of this? The paradox, the storm, the receiver, and the seat are now clear to you. It's real to understand. But insight by itself has never been enough to get someone across. You already know deep down that what you know is missing the missing piece. What you know has to be in the instrument. We are going there now. It's time for me to explain everything in simple terms. Nothing but the truth stacked on top of each other. What do you know now that you didn't know an hour ago? The forced quiet in your life is not leaving you. It is about positioning, because large groups of people need to be in a receiving position. Your harvest did not get lost because of the delay. It gathered it up. What lands can only be as big as the structure and person it hits, not heaven itself. Snorts, the chaos around you is timed interference. Which means it's a sign that someone is close, not that something is wrong. This is what you do with it. Every day you sit without armor for 5 minutes and train your system to receive again. You change the name of your waiting list to a reservoir inventory. You're now building things. Rhythm, order, and intake, because this is the building season. And you think of your mind as the receiver that everything else is based on. That makes you this person. There was no beggar outside the gate. Instead, there was a ready hare sitting on purpose in the last few steps before his arrival. In one breath, that's the whole message. Make a note of it now if that clarity makes you feel better. In the comments, type "I claim the arrival" because that's how we record the present moment. And heaven respects what a chosen person is willing to name. You have always been that foggy, striving, braced version of yourself. There is no need for you to stay that way. The peace of mind you feel now is real. Of course, clarity by itself is not restoration. Now, the receiver is the only thing left to talk about. It was proven a few years ago in New York during a study that most people who go to spiritual rooms have never heard of this. Dr. Daniel Barron, a neurologist there, had spent years working on a body of research that went back to one of the most famous scientific discoveries of all time. Dr. Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize in 1981 for his work on the two sides of the brain. It's easy to say and very hard to understand what that research line found. The mind was built so that its two halves would fire at the same time for the most creative and deep thinkers in history. That's the state that comes out when they do. Full presence, easy focus, and ideas that come together as a whole. This finding should really shock you. That level of creative genius is something that almost all young children can do. Not even 1 in 1,000 adults still does. Everyday life slowly throws the two halves out of sync. Not because you were bad, but because the environment was never meant to keep the synchronization safe. There is no damage to the receiver. It gets out of sync. Listen to two people who have been here before I tell you what his team built. A woman from California said that her life used to be about what happened to her instead of what she did. Prayer, writing in a journal, meditation, and all the other practices her community suggested didn't help. She kept hitting the same wall, believing things she couldn't feel. After about 10 days, she said something just got better. She felt like a channel that had been closed off for all of her adult life suddenly opened. The presence she had only read about became real to her in a normal kitchen on a normal Tuesday. To be more direct, a man from Texas said it. He had to carry a family and a business for years on a mind that felt like it was running through wet sand. It was like talking to a wall when I prayed. After 2 weeks, he woke up and the fog was gone. He had stopped noticing it. What used to take him a week now only takes him an afternoon to decide. He said it was most strange how familiar it felt, like meeting a child self he hadn't seen in a long time. It does that when the receiver connects again. That's exactly what the team led by Dr. Barron learned how to fix for years. They took clinical-grade neural sync technology that was used for more than an hour to guide the two hemispheres back into their natural rhythm and sped it up into an 8-minute targeted audio sequence every day for 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed. That's the whole protocol. The smart switch is what they call it. Make it very clear what it's not. There are already a lot of sound frequency tracks on the internet. This isn't another one. In fact, if you've tried those and felt nothing, that's the point. Loose soundtracks only deal with a small part of the picture. It's not an app for meditation, and you don't need to learn any special skills to use it based on Sperry's research. This is a whole brain activation protocol that was made to do one thing. Bring back the synchronization you had from birth. The one that people today took without asking. Not everyone can use the genius switch. It's for the chosen one who has worked on themselves for years and thinks the last locked door wasn't even spiritual. It's for the person who heard the receiver law tonight and had a feeling that that was it. That is the piece that is missing. If that's not you, don't worry about it. But if you've been honest for years, but only received a small amount of depth, this was made just for you. The people who worked with him told him this kind of restoration would keep its value at $500. And if you compare prices in person, neurofeedback costs around $300 an hour and home systems can cost thousands of dollars. It's not marketing to make that comparison. It's math. It cost $149 when it came out, and right now through the page linked to this message it costs $39. Besides that, they give you 4 gifts for free. A guided visualization by a well-known creator on the best platform for calm and focus. A grocery list that shows you common foods that make you feel brain fog, and quick fixes that save you real money every month. A classic manifestation from more than 100 red years ago, and a beautiful print of the 5 habits that will help you have a great future. And every dollar is backed by a guarantee that you can get all of your money back. You can listen once or 80 times. It will all come back to you. If it doesn't help you like it has helped more than 18,000 other people, there are no rules or questions. If your first thought is that there's no room for anything new, here's the truth. The plan calls for 8 minutes every day. You can close your eyes and let it run before or after the house wakes up. There isn't a method to learn. There is no journal to keep and no work to do. If you can't find 8 minutes, time was never the problem. You and I both know it. And it's good that you are careful, because you've been burned by big claims before. Keep an eye out. In fact, that's what the guarantee is for. You no longer have to worry about that risk. Instead, it falls on them. And hear the loss framed clearly, because it fits with everything this message has taught you. When your mind is in sync, you can see what God has already put close to you in a way that a foggy mind can't. The provision doesn't need to exist first. It's real. The question is whether you and the receiver will ever meet in person. Please be careful. You deserve it. You can find fakes. If you search video and the platforms for something with a similar name. His team looked at them and found that most of them didn't have any neural sync technology in them, just the label. The mechanism is what makes the difference, and it's only in one place. This page's link is only in the description below and the comment that was pinned. Go there and read everything for yourself before making a choice. If what has been said feels right to you, everything is out in the open. This needs to be said in a clear voice. The tool doesn't stand in for God. It doesn't give up for you. It doesn't follow your orders. It also can't love Him for you. What He is doing in your life has nothing to do with any instrument. His work has more room to land at the depth it was sent with. Though if the receiver is fixed, we go back to the deeper part of this message. Now I owe you the answer. I planted in the middle, and this is the top of everything. I told you that the big event that is about to happen in your life is not what you thought it would be. You've imagined the money, the person, the stage, and being proven right in front of everyone who didn't believe you. Those people might show up. And I think some of them are closer than you think, but none of them are the big thing. Pay attention to it. The big thing that's going to happen in your life is the new improved version of you. Think about it. With everything you have in your hands, an event, even a big one, is over as soon as it hits someone who hasn't changed. But a fixed receiver, a balanced mind, and a sitting spirit that changes the outcome of every event that happens after that for the rest of your life. A harvest was the big step forward you were looking for. The farmer events that are coming up will feed you for a season. The new you feeds every season after the first one. That's why heaven wouldn't hurry this up. That's why the instruction was never to chase it. The order was to sit down because the big thing doesn't come to an address. It hits a person and that person had to be taught how to handle their own answer. And for the chosen one who felt something move when we talked about the mind and how it can be healed. The door is still open in what follows. A small step taken while sitting down, but small steps taken with a clear head have changed the paths of whole generations. Now, since you deserve to see it, let me show you what the arrival really looks like. It's just another morning in a few months. When you wake up before your alarm goes off, the first thing you notice is that something is missing. The fear, the static, and the stealing. When you make coffee in a quiet kitchen, you feel like you're in the room tasting it. Now in a way that used to require a vacation to come close to the thought that comes to you as you stand at the counter is not a piece of something else. The whole thing comes with its own steps. The next morning you hear yourself answer the call. That would have caused you great stress a year ago. You are surprised at how calm you sound. Outside hasn't changed yet. Inside everything has in the first week they came. Then watch it get stronger. When your mind is in sync, the work you do has a different weight and people notice. It's not because you're pushing yourself harder, but because clarity is hard to miss. When provision stops hiding, or rather when you stop walking past it, chances that you couldn't see through the fog start to stand out like lit windows at dusk. The version you fixed gets to the people you care about at home, too. The patience is now real, not fake. Someone who has known you for a long time looks at you at a normal dinner and says something is different about you. When they say that, you'll know that you are standing inside the answer to every prayer you thought wasn't heard. There is also a second window. It was never just about you. So, I want you to read through. Take a look further back in time. Your home has a different feel in one version than the other, where your kids or the little ones who watch you grow up with a calm adult instead of a tense one, and they learn in a quiet way that peace is normal. Whole brain researchers talk carefully about how one person who has had their brain fixed affects the people who are closest to them. And the Bible has made it clear for thousands of years. A life that is calm and in order spills out what you were afraid you would pass on. The fog, the flinch, and the wrestling. It ends where you are sitting. In a few years, someone in your line will walk through a door you didn't see open. They won't know that your name was on the hinge either. That's what massive really means. Also watch one more scene that is very quiet. It's late at night, a long time into the new season. You're sitting down again, but this doesn't look anything like the waiting rooms from your old life. Being like David, who sat there in awe and did the math of grace by counting what came through the gate and finding the count silly. It was never late. You hear yourself say over and over again as you sit like an heir. It was right on. Put that sentence on hold between now and then. You'll need it. Keep that picture. Don't let it get fuzzy. I am going to do the most important thing in this whole message right now. What I'm about to say will change your life. The ones you don't talk about. After that, we'll seal this whole word up so it can't get out. Do not leave until the seal is done. The seal holds the people who stay for the sealing. Also know why this ending is more important than everything else. The things you heard tonight will not be as important by Thursday. That's how thoughts work. But a signed agreement that you speak and feel in your body gives you a place to start when the storm tries to change the terms. What we're going to do next is not a good ending. It's what holds everything together that the last hour has built in you. So be there with all of yourself. There will be no second screens or split attention. It will just be you, the seat, and the God who ordered it. But first, please bring your body back one last time, because deals made in your head don't last through the week. Sit the way we worked on it. Set your back straight. Keep your hands open, and if it's safe, close your eyes. Slowly put this picture together. Now, if you wake up early and stand at the base of a huge dam, the ground beneath your feet is dry. The water that had been building up for years was high behind the wall and set into it. One gate has your name carved into the stone. Keep an eye on the gate as it moves. Listen to the first water come through, not as a flood over you, but as a river next to you, filling the dry bed right up to the edge of its banks. It will be strong and orderly at the same time. Say to yourself, with the water moving, what was stored was never stolen. Say it slowly again. It was never stolen what was kept. Watch what your chest does as you say it. The physical release behind the sternum and the deeper breath that you haven't had in months are what hold you down. Every day this season lies to you. Take a moment to breathe. Then go back to the gate that has your name on it. The body remembers things that the mind has forgotten. Now stay put, because this message's whole point comes down to these last few minutes. I'm not in a hurry either. Dear Father, we are not leaving this moment the same way we came in. We know this. First, thank you for what has already happened, not for what will happen. For each year we thought there was silence while the lake level rose when there wasn't any. For every seat that looked like a bench. For every locked door that happened while our name was being cut into a better one. We can now see it. We went to bed tonight blind. But now we can see. Now, chosen one, put down whatever you've been holding on to. Think about how much weight you put into this message. You hold a stone that is the stopwatch. The comparison, the bracing, and the shame of the years that have been put on hold. Feel how heavy it really is. How well you know it now because of how long you've carried it. Open your hands now. Allow it to hit the ground. Listen to it hit the ground behind you. Not in front of you, behind you, or anywhere else things you drop should go. You're not going to pick that up again. There should be nothing in your hands. When it lands, let go of the stopwatch that you've been using to time every promise and time God like a delivery service. Stop comparing yourself to others on every feed that made you feel like you were behind them. You were never given a race. Get over the shame of the years that you were stuck. Everything. The painful birthdays, the questions from family, and the shame of having to explain a delay you didn't choose. Don't hold back. Don't be afraid of good news. And don't be afraid of the breakthrough you prayed for. Let go of the old name you used this season. No one ever said it was forgotten. It was always known as getting ready. The chair feels a lot lighter already. That lightness isn't imagination. That's how a spirit feels when it loses something that wasn't meant to be its. Now inside, stand up and listen to what is being said, because this is not poetry. This is your assignment. I was the one God told to sit down, and I did. That obedience is already taken into account. I'm not behind schedule. I am kept. I'm not on the bench. I am crowned and in training. No, I'm not weak. It's no problem for me to handle the weight of a big answer. I am the seeded hair, and the money that was saved up over the years while I waited is now mine and can't be given to anyone else. I am the building that the arrival lands on and doesn't break. My mind, body, and spirit are all ready. I won't be swept away when it hits. I will become well known. Claim it where the record can see it. If you only get that as yours, type "I'm sitting down for it" in the comments. All of it as a statement. Since an hare sitting down doesn't whisper about his inheritance. So until the gate opens tomorrow, it will stay closed over your name, your house, and your reservoir. Just stay still for a moment longer. Right now, something is settling and I don't want you to disturb it by moving too quickly. Some of you are getting warm in the hands or across your chest. Some of you are feeling that certain kind of quiet that comes after a long cry. Even though you didn't cry, there's no drama at all for some of you. All you feel is a strange sense of order, like your eyes were closed and the room was squared away. Each of the three is a real receipt. Heaven doesn't give out the same ones. Now that the deal is over, the weight is lighter, the word is written, and the seal is put on. Take it easy tonight as you walk by yourself. In the first few hours, newly appointed hares shouldn't be doing heavy work. Before you leave, here are 2 short tasks that are neither for you nor your class. There is another chosen one in your world who has been waiting too long, trying too hard and getting ready for the wrong thing. Someone whose plans keep getting pushed back and who is slowly realizing that they were forgotten. That person you know came to mind right now. Send them this message tonight without talking. That's all it was. This found me and it sounds like your season. You might be the one who brings them to the most important meeting of their lives. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. If this word kept you reading until the end, say something like, "Not for me." But because it tells this platform's machinery to bring the same water to the next thirsty person it finds. Just one more thing and I'll let you go. Do you remember where we began? The edge of a bed, a parked car, a weight you couldn't name, and a stillness you couldn't explain. And it was just you and it making you wonder if you were crazy. You didn't lose anything. You were told to sit down for a reason. Those weights that didn't have names now do. They have names, mechanisms, and gates with your name on them. And you will never again mistake the closeness as pressure for the empty silence of being left behind. You came to this message as someone who was ready for life to begin. You're leaving it as if someone else is waiting for you this week. Do the little things. Take 5 minutes to sit. Make the list of the reservoirs. Watch out for the rest. Close your plans' mouths and let your spirit's hands stay open. And when the first water comes through the gate, it will remember this night and how you heard it sitting there. Be at peace, chosen one. It's closer than it's ever been to the huge thing. And you are too. For the first time, it's done. Heat. Heat. And heat. Hi. Heat. Hello. 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 Heat. Heat. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says give and heaven will open over you on this platform. Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now.